Yeah, thank you very much, Paolo. Thank you for the invitation. It's great to be in Italy, specifically because 75% of our market is currently represented by the Italian marketplace. But before I go into the detail, my organization, the NGVA Europe, the Natural and Biogas Vehicle Association, is representing the European industry related to methane, natural biogas in transport for all types of vehicles and transport modes. And our association is currently representing 150 companies from 40 different countries. And our objective is to align their interests, expectations, and wishes to transmit their messages to in the first place, policymakers. And here's this is of course the main task of my association as an organization, which has basically three main pillars. One is the political work, influencing policies and exchanging views with policymakers and our industry. So we have a mandate of the industry to discuss with the political side. We also have, and this is the second pillar, a strong technology-focused work in terms of developing standards and homologation for our technology, so that our companies, no matter if they come from Italy or another country, that are selling European-wide or globally, have the right framework, which will eventually help the entire industry to develop and also reduce costs. And the third pillar is, of course, we are a commercial and the biggest European commercial platform for our topic. So we bring partners together. We also try to educate our industry where are possibilities for funding, where are possibilities for collaborating at political and technical level. And this is basically what we are and who we represent. And my organization, maybe as the last sentence, is of course open wide for the technology, road, maritime, it doesn't matter. Wherever gas works, we represent it. We represent car manufacturers, truck manufacturers, shipping yards, the gas industry, the component manufacturers, the infrastructure side, the filling station builders, all that have an interest in methane-related transport. And as you have asked about the market potential, this is the reason why this organization exists and why we see a strong potential, because our industry is committed to the thing. And we have strong environmental concerns in Europe. And natural gas methane, natural gas or renewably sourced methane from biogas, or you can also convert electric, a surplus of electricity produced to synthetic gas. This is of course a very compelling story. And if we talk about the market perspective, there are actually not so many alternatives in the future. And now we have only 0.5%, which is not that much. But we have the expectation that our market grows tenfold in the next couple of years, so that we can reach 5% market share overall by 2020, which is quite an ambitious target. And we can even go beyond that. There is a strong story behind the maritime, but in our technology it started on the road, and there you will now see much quicker and very soon strong developments on the road side. And since we are here to talk about LNG, there is in trucks, in cars you have some alternatives, but in trucks you practically have nothing except natural gas. It's the same in the ships. If you look at the ships and we talk about how to keep the shipping fuel or make the shipping fuel more clean, you can use some technologies, like we had about scrubbing technologies, to actually upgrade the heavy fuel to diesel quality, but that is very expensive and not the ultimate solution. We need an alternative fuel, and an alternative fuel is natural gas, CNG and LNG. And we even expect a higher market share by 2050 in passenger, something like 13 to 15%, and in freight beyond 30%. There is a very strong environmental benefit story behind the natural gas vehicles for natural reason. Methane, natural gas, is CH4. The relation is 1 carbon molecule to 4 hydrogen molecules. In the case of petrol and diesel, which is 16 carbon, 34 hydrogen molecules, parts in the molecule, you have a relation of 1 to 2. Again, methane 1 to 4, more hydrogen, less carbon, and in the case of petrol and diesel, less hydrogen, more carbon in relative terms. So it's obvious that we have, for natural reasons, less CO2. CO2 is one thing. It's a global issue, which is of course very important, but we also have the concern of air quality. Natural gas is extremely clean because it's virtually free of particulate matter and has extremely low NOx values, NOx limits, far below even Euro 6 levels that are being proposed by the European Commission. So you can increase the quality of life with natural gas vehicles. And if you then, coming back to the carbon, there's some carbon in natural gas, but this is due to the fact that we extract it from the soil, fossil, and put it in the atmosphere. If you use biogas, renewably sourced, everything that rots produces methane. So why not using it and put it to good use in transport? There is many ways to produce electricity, but very few ways to substitute oil in transport, and this can be done with natural gas in combination with biogas, which is also a local product. Italy has now in its new energy degree some strategy for biomethane, using it in transport, which is also being done in some parts of Europe already, but it's a completely underutilized option so far. If using biogas, you have CO2 neutral mobility, and you can use, and this is the big advantage, the existing infrastructure for natural gas in the distribution network and the pipelines, but also in the filling stations and in, ultimately, the vehicles and the technology. Because the engines will always use methane, the same gas. Actually, there is not really a difference. It started in Europe with the CNG stations and a compressor that is compressing the gas coming from the pipes down to 200 bars in order to use it in the vehicle. Now with the LNG, you don't need a pipeline and you have LNG or LCNG stations. The only difference is that you add the CNG option in an LCNG station, but the concept always remains the same. Because in an LNG station where the gas is stored at 160 degrees minus, which is very cold, you have CNG if you put it back to normal temperature. So if adding a regasifier, you automatically have more or less CNG for free in LNG stations. But the concept is basically an LNG station. It depends on the customer. If you have a truck fleet and you want to switch to LNG in trucks, and you have a station where you know that only trucks are coming, you don't need LCNG stations. You will do an LNG station, and as it goes back to normal temperature, it vaporizes after some time. In this case, you have to cool down again in order to have a closed circle so that there is not any venting of methane in the station. So you always have to do either the closed circle with liquefaction, with cooling it down, or adding a CNG dispenser with a gasifier to have LCNG stations. You have to do this option, and LCNG station is of course ideal because you get rid of the pressure and the vaporization of LNG after a couple of days and weeks, and this is the ideal way to complement also CNG infrastructure for CNG customers with the LCNG technology. I think we need both technologies to fit the Italian expectations. LCNG gives more flexibility to the Italian market because sometimes you don't have a pipeline, and if there is a pipeline but it's maybe 100 meters away, you have to lay a connection to this pipeline, and it can become very expensive. That's one consideration. Another consideration is that you need LNG because of the energy density, which is favorable for long-haul transport on longer distances for the trucks. So if you have the possibility to switch to LNG in trucks instead of diesel, you should always do it LCNG, because you then have automatically the CNG fuel option for the private customer and also for public fleet operators of commercial vehicles or public vehicles in urban surroundings. Because electric mobility is maybe something for cars, but certainly not for heavy vehicles. So we will also have a strong CNG development as well in the markets, where also new products are being put into the marketplace, especially from Italian companies.